Hi there, welcome to the first episode of Beacon Light, where I do a chill little walkthrough of some of my old art and talk a bit about process, about what I've done and how I've done it. So we're starting out with the basics of sketch and colour, and we're just kind of doing this so that you can get a handle on my workflow so I don't have to go through all of the little steps that will be really kind of tedious to listen to me talking through over and over. And I've picked this piece. It's not what I would call a very good piece. It's not very polished. It's quite basic. I am fond of it though, and that's the thing that counts. Like, I might regret choosing this later because I will look back on it and I will go, this wasn't a very good piece. Why did I do that? Why do I have to look at this every time I look at my channel? But that's what art is. Art is this continuous process of improvement. It's a thing where I will never be able to look back on a piece and know, and forever, and know that I will love it forever. That's just not a thing. So yeah, I feel perfectly fine about sharing my working practices. The vision that I bring to this work is completely unique. This starting picture is my character Faudros, who is a ranger who is a little bit gribbly, and they're having a bit of a sulk because they have been condescended to once again. So this is coming off the back of a specific event that happened in game. And let's look at the sort of process. I would have started not with this size of canvas. I would have started by going to this screen and getting a new canvas in this A4 size with plenty of space so that I can then cut it down later. I do always go for resolution at 600 dpi because I think it's good to start with that. And then I'll draw at about 50% magnification, as we can see here. I draw at about this size. So I've started with just a quick sketch to get the posture down. You can see here by comparing it to the default size of the brush I've used that I have in fact enlarged this one. So I would basically have just done it and gone, that's too small, that's not going to be interesting or fun to colour in, to make detailed. I need to make this bigger, so I would have. It's really rough. All it's doing is it's just getting the mood down. I haven't even tried with the hand. It's just as good as I can get it. And now I sketch it a bit more detailed to get it further down. So you can see I've refined the anatomy a bit, and obviously I've added the clothes. This is a character with an established design. That's not very difficult for me to do. I do have the face on a different layer, and I usually do this because it makes it easier for me to edit the face and edit the body without them colliding with each other in a way that I would find difficult to handle. Like, I don't want to have to be going through with the lasso tool and very, very carefully cutting out the face if I need to change the size. I want to be able to just do it, and doing it on a separate layer does let me do this. At this point, I will have cropped it. So I use standard crops. I either use a square crop, or I use a 16:9 crop, or I use a 4:3 crop. In this instance, square was the nicest, but I do like to have the standard ones. I think it helps with posting on social media, because a lot of them do have quite interesting approaches to cropping, as well as just general, it helps me with composition. Those are the ratios of the screens that I'm looking to compose in. At this point, it becomes time for the line art. So again, I'm using the exact same brush. This is the G Pen tool, but all I've done with it is I've changed the tip to being one of the brush tips. So it's got this slight transparency, this slight whatchamacallit, the color drag thing. And the line art layers are exactly as you would expect. I do have the face and the body on the same line art layer here. That is because I will have merged them. They wouldn't have originated like this. And you can see that I've got hair on a separate layer because I find hair difficult. The lines are somewhat more refined, but not very much more. This is quite scribbly. I'm not doing anything fancy with the line work here. It's just getting the point across. And I'm not too fussy about the anatomy. As long as I've got the mood, I've got the posture, I got this person who is grumpy and sulking, I don't mind. It doesn't really matter if the anatomy is bad. The other reason why I've got hair on a different layer is so that I can fiddle around with Fowdros's body hair without worrying about how that will interact with the body. Because Fowdros has quite a lot of it, and I do like to make it quite clear, but that does mean that I don't want to be rubbing out bits of the normal line work when I'm trying to edit the body hair. The stitches you see here, those were added later, so we'll come back to those in a minute. And then I do have an established colour palette for Fowdros. This is, it's muted, it's warm tones, there's no big saturation here, and I do have to be quite careful that colours don't slide into each other. You can see that I've struggled with that a little bit on Fowdros's earring. The two creams and beiges, they're the same colour, if you look, coming here and then here. It's just different saturations and values, and you'll see me using this trick a fair few times over the course of these videos. It helps with the harmony. I've then got a background. Now, if I was going to do a proper background, I would have done a lot more concept work. But because this is really simple, it's just 3 lines leading inwards to create the idea of the room corner. This room had bare walls and mostly bare floor. It's really not complicated. And it just creates this sort of centering on Fowdros. The walls are different shades of beige and cream. They're not the same, but we're looking at the same muted color palette, and you can see that the same tone with different saturation and value has been used for the floor as well. And what we've got at the moment is we've got a nice area of high contrast here to sort of center the face, and then lower but still distinct contrast on the floor. But I'm not done yet. I have a rug to do, and the rug, you can't actually see how I made this in this version because this is done with the perspective tool. So I've basically just scribbled these segments of the rug and then used the perspective tool, as we can see here, to just radically change, oops, I'm on the wrong layer, to just radically change how that looks. I don't mind that I'm on the wrong layer, it doesn't matter. They're still muted. We do have a cooler color here to provide a little bit of contrast, that's the gray, but it's roughly similar. And now I do the stitching, and I mean, you've just had the stitching highlighted to you by accident, but it's the same red as Fowdros's shirt. And that is on purpose. That is helping with harmony, and it's also because this was a rug just patched together out of whatever material we had around, so it kind of fits that it's using the same sort of stuff. I'm then moving on to the shading, and now this is extremely simple shading. I haven't really thought too much about light source. All this is, it's a multiply layer, and it's originally just a purple, and we're quite lucky here because Fowdros's skin tone is similar enough to the tone of the rest of it that I don't really have to worry about changing that color to make it look harmonious on the multiply layer. That can happen sometimes, especially with very pale-skinned people. It's usually a good idea to warm up the multiply tone if you're doing this kind of simple shading. But for Fowdros, they're doing okay anyway. And again, it's really sketchy. Look at this. This is a mess, this area. But that's okay for this piece. It doesn't matter. And it's kind of the similar with the background. I've got a bit of background shading. I haven't clipped it to the background layer because there isn't a single background layer, whereas I did clip the layer here into my colors. But on the background, all I've done is I've added a bit of rough shadow for where Fowdros is sitting, and I've slightly defined the angle of this wall here, just because I think that's useful to do. And with that, I'm nearly done. As I say, this is a very basic piece. All I do now, I add a signature, and then I add a noise layer. I do like noise layers. You can't really see what it's doing very well at this magnification, but we're just going to zoom in, and I know where this is going to take us. It's going to be very funny. We've accidentally zoomed in on Fowleros's cleavage, but that's fine. You can see it just adds a little bit of subtle variation to the tone, which is something that I really like to have. It's just a little bit of visual interest. It's not as flat. And that's that. That is my picture. Sometimes I would go through and add some adjustment layers on top of that. In this instance, I've done as good a job as I need to. I'm good. So thank you for having a watch. I hope that that's been interesting, amusing in a chill and distinctly non-fireworksy fashion. This is the first one of what should be a decent series of just me running through old pieces and talking about the process. So I'll see you back next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I feel really strange saying that, but if you want to support it, or if you want to be kept in touch with further updates, that is the kind of the thing that you need to do. So have a good day. I hope all of your projects are going beautifully. Farewell.